The DA's tumultuous week continues. The party's chief whip in parliament, John Steenhuisen, has announced he will step down, however, remains a member of parliament. This comes after the former DA leader, Mmusi Maimane, announced his resignation from the party's parliamentary caucus. For more on this, I'm joined now by our reporter, Athi Mtongana, who is in parliament. Athi, going to John Steenhuisen's Twitter this morning, you can see he reiterates, he says, I want to make it clear, I have not left the party. I'm still a member of the DA. I'm still committed to the project. But as per regulation, of course, I serve as a chief whip appointed by the leader. And when the leader resigns, that means I've got to make space in that office.
Exactly, Thabo, because John Steenhuisen's term was directly linked to Mmusi Maimane's term here in Parliament. Of course, John Steenhuisen coming out to say that he was, of course, selected by Mmusi Maimane, who was the leader of the party and also the leader of the party in Parliament. So now what the DA caucus has decided is to next week hold an election to select a new leader in Parliament representing the party here in Parliament. So that process will take place next week, Thabo. They do not have a leader, of course, as a party, and they also don't have a leader here in Parliament. And so that is the predicament that they've found themselves in following, of course, the resignation of Mmusi Maimane, not only as the leader of the party, but also as a member of the party and a leader here in Parliament. And of course, in the interim, the caucus chairperson will have to take over that position of being a leader here in Parliament. We're talking about over 90 caucus leaders of the Democratic Alliance that are here in Parliament, which will sit together and hold this election to select a new leader that will take over here in Parliament. But Thabo, I want to throw to an interview I had with Patricia de Lille. As you may know, she was also a member of the Democratic Alliance and also resigned from the Democratic Alliance last year in October and has come out to say, Mmusi Maimane, I have told you so. Those were the words we heard from Patricia de Lille, who now went on to form her own party, of course, the Good Party, and also made her way back into Parliament, of course, being the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, saying that the party has now led to it being a self-destruction party, and in fact saying that right-wingers have infiltrated the party, mentioning some old members of the DA, saying that they have returned, and people specifically who are not inclined to a transformation that the DA continuously puts out in the public. I'm going to ask some of our guys, our team, to specifically throw to that interview I had with Patricia de Lille.
I resigned on the 31st of October last year after very bitter lessons. I just could not reconcile that what was supposed to be the policies of the DA that I was implementing, that people were so unhappy about it. And I hate to say this, but I told Mmusi that time already that the party has been captured by right-wingers. And in the end, when they started fighting with me and accusing me of corruption and all of those kind of things, they actually used Mmusi to lead the fight against me. And I warned him. And, today I can say, I've told you so. But, the DA is on a destructive path, self-destruction.
Now, Athi, we saw earlier on this morning, of course, Mmusi Maimane then heading to his Twitter to make that announcement that not only is he resigning as a member of as a leader rather of the DA, but also he's resigning now as a leader of the DA caucus in Parliament. This, of course, meant that we needed to get reaction from the chief whip as well. You caught up with him.
Indeed, Thabo, I caught up with him, and one interesting thing that he obviously shared with members of the media was standing outside waiting for reaction really from members of the caucus, saying that he does not agree with Mmusi Maimane that the DA is not the vehicle that is needed for change in South Africa, but has applauded Mmusi for having a relationship with him and for selecting him as the chief whip of the party here in Parliament, saying that he doesn't mind being in the back benches, but of course he himself has not resigned as a member of the party nor as a member of Parliament, but because his term was linked to Mmusi Maimane's term here in Parliament, he then technically also has to step aside until a new leader of the party representing the party here in Parliament is selected, that being next week Tuesday through the caucus. He doesn't mind taking up that position again of being the chief whip. But before anything else, Thabo, I just want to throw to that interview that we heard with John Steenhuisen, trying to clarify matters here as they stand.
I disagree with Mr. Maimane that the DA is not the vehicle for change. I believe it is the only viable vehicle for change in South Africa. The events of the last 48 hours aside, we remain the second largest party in South Africa. We remain the official opposition here in Parliament, and we remain the leading party in government in a number of metropolitan areas. There is a duty of care to the people of South Africa and the millions of people who place their trust in the DA, that we continue to build and grow, and that we continue to get up every morning and fight for them and ensure that their voices are heard and ensure that this government is held accountable. I certainly won't be resigning as a DA MP. I remain committed to the project of building an alternative in South Africa, and I will get up tomorrow morning, whether it's an ordinary member, whether it's a citizen, whether it's a backbencher here in Parliament, to continue that fight.
And of course, Athi, before we let you go, you caught up with also the DA caucus chair, Annelie Lotriet. What did she have to say?
Well, what Annelie Lotriet was basically saying is that she has to now take over that position of leading the party here in Parliament. But of course, until the selection process is done by the caucus, remember, Thabo, we're talking about over 90 members of the DA caucus here in Parliament, both from the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces, the NCOP, together will hold an election that would then select a new leader of the party here in Parliament. And some people in the public domain already coming out to suggest and speculate that John Steenhuisen, who is now no longer the chief whip of the party, might take over the leadership position of the party in Parliament. But of course, John coming out to say that whatever position is given to him, he is ready to take it up, be it being a chief whip again or being a leader of the party here in Parliament. All of that, Thabo, remains to be seen. So next week, Tuesday, we will find out who will take over the reins of Mmusi Maimane, specifically here in Parliament, through that election by the DA caucus here in Parliament.
Athi Mtongana, let me thank you so much for bringing us that report. That's Athi Mtongana live for us outside the stairs there of Parliament. That's where she caught up with John Steenhuisen, with Patricia de Lille, as well as the chair of the DA caucus in Parliament.